Humanity toils under the cruel and hopeless regime of the Imperium of Man. But what if I told you there are humans living better lives under alien rulers? A Xenos faction convincing enough to flip one of the most powerful figures in the Imperium, an Inquisitor, to betray his own people. Today, we'll dive into what life is really like for humans in the Tau Empire. The good, the bad, what parts are propaganda, and the dark secrets the Tau really don't want you to know about. The first place to start is, how exactly do humans end up in the Tau Empire? There are quite a few avenues to joining, but that's by design. It's common knowledge that the Tau Empire is a multi-species society, kind of like the Covenant from Halo. They have castes of Tau diplomats, the Water caste to be exact, taught in the tactics of persuasion and negotiation that come to Imperial worlds, show them how much the Tau can improve their lives, and try to convince them to abandon the Imperium and join the Tau Empire. Some of these diplomats will even go as far as to mimic human expressions to come off as more friendly. It's kinda creepy, I'm not gonna lie. These Tau diplomats do their research, learning both high and low Gothic,
I've seen some of these documentaries,
and becoming familiar with the planet's trouble, so they have a better understanding of its people's plight. But this also gives the Tau information on how to be at an advantage on the negotiation table. Sometimes the first offer straight up works. For a faction in the 40k universe, the Tau's offer of safety, superior technology, and an overall equal standing in their empire is enticing. Now, hold on a second. I know some of you are going to comment about that equal standing part. Trust me, I'll get into that later. The Imperial world can refuse their offer, which is totally cool with the Tau Empire, because they already had a backup plan. Those same Tau diplomats, while surveying the world, have been slowly creating a pro-Tau movement in several hive cities to cause a planet-wide rebellion to take it by force. At the same time, the Tau's military, the Fire caste, are ready to quell the world and take over to steer the rebellion in the right direction. They might have failed to convince the hive city nobility, but a starving populace is much easier to convince. The Tau Empire also usually picks the fringe and mostly forgotten worlds of the Imperium. It's easier to convert worlds that are neglected and lacking resources. They know the Imperium doesn't always have the time or supplies to go after defecting worlds, especially ones that are of little value to them. This isn't the only avenue to join the Tau Empire either. Imperial guardsmen injured in battle will be healed by Tau medics and convinced to join. Humans will steal ships in the hopes of making it to a Tau outpost to join that way. You might start to see a pattern here. Most of these are humans either in impoverished or desperate situations. So how did they convince an Inquisitor, someone even above Imperial nobility and power, to join the Tau Empire? This would be like convincing a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company to join your startup as an assistant to the regional manager. It's basically unheard of. But there are other reasons to join them besides survival. This Inquisitor truly believes the Tau Empire would be a better ruler over the galaxy than the Imperium. If you watched my previous video going over the problems with the Imperium of Man, you'll be familiar with how horrific and doomed it really is, and how the top brass of the Imperial government are more aware of that than anyone else, including Inquisitors. This is the reason Lucien von Diem gave up his rank and joined the Tau Empire. The following is a paraphrased quote from the book Broken Sword between Lucien and a captured Raven Guard Space Marine. The Eldar say the same of us. We say that their empire is done, and we are the inheritors of the stars. Not so. Our time is done also. We had our chance, and fell. The Emperor failed to restore us. I throw my lot in with a race which is young, vibrant, and just. A race that will tear back the veils of superstition, and bring a new age of enlightenment to the galaxy. An age in which mankind can prosper as part of the greater good.
You are a traitor.
If I am, then what I betray is worthy of betrayal. Lucien wanted to be part of a faction that had an actual future ahead of them, where he saw none for humanity's civilization, enough to betray his own race. Some like Lucien will go on to holding positions of power in the Tau Empire, especially those of great talent and experience like himself. Actually, he's one of the very rare few humans allowed to pilot a battleship, but that is extremely uncommon. The usual technology they give to humans can be seen when Imperial guardsmen are converted. They'll get access to Tau weaponry and armor, increasing their capabilities and chance of survival, but for the most part, not battlesuits. The Tau term for them is Guevesa, which translates to human helper. I honestly wish they had official plastic kits for this. I would totally buy up humans and Tau equipment. It's cool as hell. I always wanted the Tau models lineup more focused on the multi-species angle than the Gundam mech one, in my humble, tiny YouTuber's opinion. Now, I would be lying if I said every human that joins the Tau Empire does so willingly. Some Imperial worlds do negotiate, but others fight back. When diplomacy fails, the Tau Empire doesn't blink if it needs to take a world by force. And not every single human on those worlds is happy to have new blue Megamind looking overlords. Those that resist are sent to re-education camps. Depending on each person, this process can be as easy as a job orientation to get familiar with the greater good, or straight up brainwashing like something out of Clockwork Orange. Also, remember how I mentioned some humans are recruited on the battlefield? Well, not all of them join of their own accord. They're given the choice, technically, to either defect or be promptly executed. As one human who joined put it, is that really a choice? In my opinion, no, not at all. If the choice is between life and death, of course they're going to choose survival. Okay, I know you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of negatives to joining, but really, this is sadly nothing compared to how the Imperium treats humans on a daily basis. And things do get better from here. So, what is life really like for humans in the Tau Empire? How is it different from the Imperium? Well, for the worlds that were once in the Imperium, it's common for them to dismantle the hive cities and bring in prefabricated Tau buildings to match their other settlements. The once Imperial citizenry will slowly be taught the concept of the greater good to prepare themselves for their new roles. From there, it's actually smooth sailing. The average citizen goes from eating corpse starch and drinking water only slightly better than in Flint, Michigan, to 3 meals a day and clean air. They get an actual house instead of living in a glorified broom closet, and at least compared to the Imperium, they are treated fairly. As long as the human world follows the standards of the greater good, they are given a fair amount of independence to govern their own people, essentially becoming their own human caste in the Tau Empire. As long as their cultural and religious beliefs don't conflict with the Tau's greater good, they can still keep them. The Tau even allow the worship of the God Emperor to a certain extent. I know the common meme is to shit on the Tau, but just for a moment, instead of thinking of these factions on a galactic scale, put yourselves in the feet of an Imperial family. Your kids are starving and sick, you work 12 hours a day, and the Emperor isn't answering your prayers. To go from that to a standard of living that is comparable or in some ways better than what we get in real life, you can start to understand why humans willingly join the Tau. This is probably also a good point to quickly mention the Farsight enclaves that broke off from the Tau Empire. How do they treat humans? So the Farsight enclaves have much less lore than the Tau Empire, so there isn't a whole lot of sources, but they do have a planet completely inhabited by humans in the Farsight enclaves and named after them, so they obviously do hold respect of their own. Commander Farsight values the individual talents much more than the Tau Ethereals do. He even goes against the Tau's usual rule of staying within your own caste and roles. Couple that with the fact that the Farsight enclaves are a much smaller and more militaristic focused faction, it stands to reason they value each person no matter the species much more than the Tau Empire does. They're probably just happy to have more allies on their side. They can't really be picky here.
That's kind of small.
I would argue humans in the Farsight enclaves are 100% respected more than in the Imperium. Maybe slightly more than in the Tau Empire, but you also have a higher chance of dying because the enclave's territory is only like 4 solar systems long and is run by the military, so you are much more likely to be drafted in the war effort. Sorry, you're not getting a cushy office job with them. Anyway, for 99% of humans, living in either the Tau Empire or the Farsight enclaves is objectively the better life. Now, if I ended the video right here, this video would 100% be called Tau propaganda, and you would be right. Propaganda like all the horny Tau art on Twitter. I hate to break it to you, but female Tau look more like this. Oh, don't boo me. I'm more sad about it than you guys. I play gacha games for Emperor's sake.
Oh, you suck!
Moving on, while the average human's life is better, there are aspects of the Tau Empire that I glossed over. In fact, I glossed over them in the same exact way a Tau watercast diplomat would to convince others to join. Let's get into the parts that the Tau Empire like to keep quiet that humans only find out about when it's too late. Also, if you liked the video, consider subscribing. But it's fine if you don't, you're human and have free will. unless you live in the Tau Empire. Hey, not so subtle foreshadowing. First off, humans and other alien races that join are considered equal on paper, but the Tau are first amongst equals. Humans over time realize that they're really second-class citizens. Humans aren't allowed to officially join any of the Tau castes, no matter how skilled they are. They can work alongside the castes to aid them, but there will always be a barrier between them that can never be crossed. You'll most likely never be trusted to pilot a battlesuit or be given tasks of dire importance. It's also why before I implied humans are their own caste. They really are that separated from the Tau. The top brass of the Tau Ethereals don't consider the average human as capable or dependable compared to themselves, which is a bit ironic since the Imperium kicks their ass from time to time. While I did mention some humans are given positions of power, they don't go that far up the chain of command. There are limits to what's allowed, and these humans will be watched carefully by the Ethereals and quote-unquote advised on important decisions. So how much power and independence they really have is up for debate. Actually, something interesting is that you have to go several ranks up to attain the title of Guevesa Vere, which literally translates to trusted human helpers. Obviously, this implies that they don't trust the average human at all. Man, these titles are pretty insulting when you think about it. This treatment extends to human worlds under the Tau Empire. It's safe to assume any human leadership on these worlds are essentially puppets for the Ethereals to control, just to make sure they don't think about rejoining the Imperium. Do you remember that part I mentioned about being okay with worshipping the Emperor? It's true, they do tolerate it, for a while, but the Ethereals are smart. They know that humans would push back on removing their religion right from the start, so they do it carefully and quietly. The longer humans stay in the Tau Empire, the more barriers are put up to prevent worship of other religions. It's like in the game Civilization, where you try to spread your religion to other nations and that slowly converts the people to your side. That's how the Tau Empire operates. While I don't have an exact quote referencing this is the Ethereals' plan, there's still a lot of mystery about how they operate. The Tau Ethereals are masters of social engineering. This is right up their alley to accomplish, and I'm certain they don't want the Emperor's religion to spread. Humans believing in the greater good like the Tau do makes it much more certain they will remain loyal to the Tau Empire. Anything that can be considered a threat to the Ethereals' control is on the top of the priority list to suppress. I do quickly want to address a bit of lore that is somewhat controversial in the community that some might bring up. The human sterilization bit of lore that was referenced in the past, that was supposedly carried out to make sure that human populations don't overtake the Taus. There'll be a text blurb on screen for those that give a shit about the details, but to put simply, there's a lot of back and forth on whether the community thinks it's canon or not. It's not like GW came out and said it's not canon, but there's conflicting information that I can kind of see what people mean. Personally, I think it would be more interesting if it was canon. It's pretty grim dark, but a lot of the community really doesn't like it. I just wanted to be clear that I know about it, I'm not ignoring it, but for now just treat it as anecdotal evidence and not concrete facts. Also, let me know in the comments whether you think it's canon or not. I'm genuinely curious how you all feel about it. Moving on, the Tau Ethereals have also suppressed information regarding the mass execution of humans and non-Tau races by the survivors of the fourth sphere of expansion. A quick summary of the events is that a massive Tau fleet was sucked into the warp. The Tau went crazy and started killing anything non-Tau. Ironically, they were actually saved by a warp entity of the greater good that was created by those humans that allowed the Tau to escape. But the fourth sphere Tau hated that too because they consider it a mockery of the greater good. After this, they went on to kill many more humans and other races under the fourth sphere's command until the Ethereals punished them. While this event is hidden from public knowledge, in the Empire, this is not normal behavior of the Tau. However, keeping this information a secret from humans afterward led to unnecessary deaths in order to keep the truth from getting out, which shows the Ethereals' true priorities. We've now gone over the good and bad of the Tau Empire, but is it worth it for humans to join? This question is harder to answer than you think. There's a different answer for both the individual level and humanity as a whole. There is something I haven't mentioned about the Tau that poses a true existential threat to humanity itself. From what we discussed, even though it's subtle, it is clear that the Tau do believe themselves to be superior to not only humans, but every other species that lives in their empire. The Tau Empire, and especially the Ethereals, are not looking for an equal partnership, but slow integration and loss of identity for each species to better fit into the roles of the greater good. One of the humans that joined the Tau Empire in the book Broken Sword thinks on humanity's role in the Tau Empire and what it could mean in the far future. He compares how the Tau select breeding among themselves and how long it would take for them to start pushing humans to do the same thing, to selectively breed humans for different purposes. How over time it's possible you won't be able to choose your own spouse, your own family. Those will all be chosen for you. Any pushback from humans will already have been slowly bred out of you. Your children already indoctrinated into wanting to fit in the ideals of the Tau Empire. Do understand this is speculation. Whether or not this is the Tau Ethereal's ultimate goal, it's not confirmed, but this is where the difference of individual and species needs to be addressed. For the individual human, is the Tau Empire worth it? The answer is yes.
No shit, Sherlock.
You will most likely have a better life, better housing, guaranteed food, and actual medical care. It's not even close compared to the Imperium. But for humanity as an entire species, that one's up for debate. You're essentially giving the future of humanity for the Tau to control forever. Putting absolute trust and power in their hands for all time. Is a better life today worth that cost in the long run? The Imperium has its faults, many faults, but it's humanity that decides its fate, no one else. To quote a human that joined the Tau Empire, "I can't quite shake that conquered feeling." Whether it's better for humanity to continue in a dying Imperium or submit itself to a young but bright future of the Tau Empire, I'll leave that up for you to decide. Subscribe if you liked my lore ramblings, and thanks for watching.